Hi, Uzi, how are you?
I'm great. My name is Uzi.
Before we start, I want to say a bit about myself. My name is Devra Blumenson, but my colleagues know me as Sonnenstrahl. Every time I interview a Jewish deaf artist, I like to throw a little fun fact about myself out there. At this time, I've realized let me ask you, do you know how many jobs I've held throughout my lifetime? Only one. I've literally worked my entire life at Gallaudet University. Okay, let's move on. Enough about myself. I'm very pleased to interview a very special individual, Uzi Buzgalo. He actually lives in Israel right now. It's incredible how technology can connect us from two sides of the world. I haven't seen him in the longest time. It's so good to see you. Hi again. I have several questions for you. Ready? What is your background? Where'd you grow up and attend school?
I was born in a small town in Israel named Afula.
Where in Israel is that?
Afula is in northern central Israel, east of Haifa. Again, when I grew up there, it was a very small town. It has grown considerably since, though. Growing up in Israel as a deaf child back in the day, I moved around a lot. Doctors in the country were predominantly British and spoke English, while my parents were French. So there were already communication barriers before I even got involved. After that, I moved to Beersheba. I forgot the spelling in English, but that's the spelling in Israeli. It's spelled differently in ASL and ISL. Before, there was no finger spelling in ISL, but now we have spelling. There's been more education in ISL, which is nice. I lived there a short time, and then we moved to Jerusalem, the old town. At the time, I was young, and my parents did not live with me. I stayed in a dorm, and it was difficult. Many teachers and supervisors at the school had numbers on their forearms. Some were friendly, and some weren't. They all came from different parts of Europe. It was a deaf school. I was lucky there was a teacher that was a coda. Her parents were deaf and from Holland. They had numbers on her forearm as well. So when I was At a young age, that teacher taught me how to be fluent in sign. She was a great teacher. I'm still impressed with how well I was taught. I love her for that.
Your teacher, she taught you sign?
Well, no. Israeli Sign Language was regular, but my family's signs was different. In my family, my grandma is from Morocco, so the sign is different, almost more gestural than anything else. I was switching between signs growing up. Not only that, but the deaf community also had their own signs. For example, there were people from Poland, Holland, as well as Arabic sign languages. So because of that, I immersed myself in different sign languages and used to them.
Wow, beautiful story. So you graduated from that school. You finished?
Yes, in Jerusalem. Then, once I was done, I moved to Tel Aviv, in which I went to technical school for 4 years, where I learned about mechanics, took classes related to physics, iron, and things like that. It taught me the skills that enabled me to figure out how things work. Basically, it was considered a high school. I stayed for art school, and every student there was a hearing. I was the only deaf student. This was in a town named Ein Alon. A town north of Haifa. Beautiful town with rich history. They have scriptures, sewing, art, and theater. They are great at these things. During the Second World War II, the Holocaust, many famous hearing artists from Europe moved to attend that school and staying there temporarily. I paid out of pocket to attend the school. Over time in class, I would ask this hearing student about what the professor said. They would take notes during class, often to remember the material taught. Most students did that in class, and they all wanted to be teachers. I was the only deaf one in the class. I asked them if I could copy their notes, and they let me. Back then we didn't have computers, so I would take time to write everything down. So I mostly summarized the important things. Once I was done, I gave their paper back and did my work for the class and gave it to the teacher. Basically, having access to their notes really helped me in class. In addition, it was easy to follow along with my teacher based on her movements and actions through her art making. Looking back, it probably wasn't the best situation, but I was young and just made the best of it. I worked at a farm to grow bananas. My job was to make sure that bananas grow faster. Basically, conduct surgery on the plants so that they would grow more. The money I earned from that I used to buy food and other things. After 2 years, I wanted to join a dance company for the deaf in Tel Aviv twice a week. Using bus service. I would ask my art teachers what time they would go to Tel Aviv, and I would use this opportunity to join them, other people's cars to go to Tel Aviv and back. So I was going between Haifa and Tel Aviv daily. I began working at the dance theaters, mainly ballet, under the company Kol Demama. I worked there for 9 years before moving to America.
Beautiful. Wow, you have had such a rich life. Thank you for sharing your background. Have you ever been bar mitzvahed?
Yes, I have. Yes, my parents and my brother are hearing. They spoke into a microphone for me. And it used to be rather big events for us. We would have around 50 people there. I prepared for my bar mitzvah in Jerusalem.
Yes, Jerusalem.
A man named Shmuel Landau
Hearing?
he's deaf.
Wow.
He is a dorm supervisor in New York. He taught me about bar mitzvahs, always at 6 in the morning, every day. I asked him what the words meant, and he would explain them to me. His parents are also deaf from Poland. They have numbers on their forearms. His family signs well. They share some amazing stories as well. They always have something to share.
We're a little short on time if you can cut it short.
So he taught me how to do bar mitzvahs. A hearing would be on the microphone, and I would read the scriptures. That's it.
Okay, thank you. Sorry there's not much time, so I'm trying to hurry. Why did you become an artist? Any reason?
Thank you for that question. When I was a kid, I communicated with my parents in French. It wasn't clear communication. There would be some gestures, but overall kind of embarrassing. So when I tried to tell my parents what I wanted, that aspect of communicating what I wanted would fail. So what I would do was draw. The drawing would make my parents understand what I was asking for. For example, I would gesture for a bike to my dad. But he would not understand. I would try again, but it just wouldn't work. When I draw a bike, then my dad understood.
Beautiful story. I got goosebumps. What kind of medium do you like to paint with? Oil or other things?
It doesn't really matter, any, but I like acrylic paint. Now the problem is that I do have two missing parts from my fingers. Yes, I lost them. It happened at work. I have a special tool that helped me with painting. I can't really use a paintbrush. There's this piece of wood I use. It works through a mechanical system, but I'm not sure how to explain it. The important thing is it works and I paint beautifully. The colors are amazing. I used to paint like everyone else, but now I paint in a new style. I like that.
What type of artist do you identify as? A Devia artist? A Jewish artist? A deaf artist?
Really, I identify with all of them.
Do you have anyone who you look up to which influenced your art?
There's this museum in Jerusalem that I would go to after school. They had a children's program, and I would always take advantage of my location and walk around the main parts of the museum. There were a lot of famous works of art in the museum. My favorite artists are Miro and Paco, who didn't feel they had to create perfect art, but their images were very clear. Many old oil paintings were perfect, but they felt heavy to me. The themes were religion, grief, pity. Not for me. I put these aside.
I understand that very well.
I just focus on the art from the heart, the openness.
The interview is over. Thanks so much. It was fantastic. Do you have any art you would like to show us?
Yes, I have something. I created the frame myself. So the painting is not made with a brush. It's made with special painting tools. The first thing I use is a wooden tool to scratch the surface. Then I paint the image with colors. I use a special kind of half brush. That's it. I think it's beautiful.
Beautiful.
This is a painting I made with the outline of hands on animal faces. They're interacting with each other. The white one is a bird. The brown one is a dog. His head is an outline of a hand. Easy to do.
This was a wonderful interview. Thank you for that. It was great seeing you again.
Thank you. You were very kind.